Most men I've worked with carry one thing heavier than anything else, and that's silence. And we need to break out of this because the truth is, this is something that's actually weighing more men down and stopping you, if you're that man, from growth. It's stopping you from moving forward with all this weight that you're carrying. I've worked with a lot of men and talked to a lot of men that constantly suppress. I was one of them. And it's not easy to be able to find a place we trust, find a place that we can actually just start talking about what's going on, because we do carry emotions very deeply. And a lot of times what happens is they come out in negative ways. And this is where that silence, we need to start breaking it, because you again can move forward stronger than ever once you've released that pain, once you've healed from the things that have gone on in your life. And it's not always about talking to just anybody. That's not what I want to relay this message as. It's about finding that safe place to talk. It's about getting it out in different ways and not holding on to it. There's a lot of different men in the space. There's communities, and we're going to dive into that. But what I want to look at here is some stats that I think are really important when it comes to silence. And as we go through them, we'll speak a little bit on them, but it's kind of staggering that we are still holding on to these old narratives. 67% of Canadian men, so this will vary depending on where you are, have never reached out for professional help, mental health support. And a lot of this is coming down to the outdated phrases like boys don't cry, man up, and deal with it. This mentality that we've carried on for so long amongst men is ultimately creating more harm than good. It's something that we want to continue ignoring, but as more men are joining communities, speaking with therapists, counselors, working with coaches, they're able to start releasing what's been holding them back, and they start really pushing forward and embracing that discomfort, knowing that on the other side of it comes with the real growth that they're looking for. 1 in 4 men are at risk of moderate to severe depression. Now, I've worked with quite a few men in my hypnotherapy practice that have been going through this, and it was directly related to them silencing themselves. They were in an industry that they felt that they had to, they couldn't speak up, and they carried this macho tough guy approach, thinking that is what was going to get them through life. And while they held it at work, they also brought it home with them. One of my clients, his marriage was deeply in trouble because he had carried so much weight, and anger actually became the primary emotion that he expressed. And a lot of times, anger is not the primary emotion. It's a secondary emotion that men are not realizing that they've experienced other things that have gone on. And in hiding these, anger comes forward. So things like sadness, grief, fear, shame, these are things that men don't want to express. They don't want to bring forward and talk about, which is fair. I get it. I've been there. And one of the best things that I personally did, and this is one of the tips that we'll look at is journaling. Journaling was just such a basic way for me to break free from a lot of the things that I've been holding on to over the years. And then I built off of that. Half of men say they don't have the social support they need. So what they in turn do is they isolate. They shut down. They feel Men feel like we don't have a turning point, somewhere we can go to talk, or we feel shame in in talking, or that judgment that we might fear, or that we might feel. And again, this is about working with professionals or coaches that are there and have seen a wide array of things that men have gone through that can help you push through that and move beyond it. Isolation increases um, the risk of depression because you're constantly feeling alone. And a lot of times what we go to after this is we look at substance abuse. We look at ways to cope and manage the symptoms as opposed to dealing with it head on, which is kind of funny because if you look at men typically want solutions. They drive forward. But when it comes to actually taking care of themselves mentally, we pull back, we reserve, we don't do it. Physically, a lot of times we'll get that drive, we'll go to the gym, we'll see the changes, and we feel good and we just build up off of it. Mentally, we isolate, we shut down, we eat, we drink, we all these different coping mechanisms as opposed to actually dealing with what's going on. So if we look at the different scenarios, if you start breaking the silence, you'll actually start reclaiming strength. And what do I mean by that? Essentially, your body and your mindset will start deteriorating in specific ways based off of all this heavy weight that you've carried. And truly, you're not at your strongest point. As soon as you start releasing it, you start working through it, that is where you're going to start recognizing how strong you actually are. You'll start building resilience and you'll just feel way better. You'll feel like a weight is lifted off your shoulders. So some of the things that I personally like doing that when I went through all this whole journey was my biggest thing was journaling. It was breaking down different areas in my life that I felt were really holding me back and digging into them. It was taking those journals and really understanding what was going on. And then I started talking to people. I started talking to my spouse. I started talking to a counselor and really digging into why these different things were holding me back. And it opened up a whole new world. I could walk around showing joy and excitement and being happy again. I could move out from the armor that I was essentially wearing, the mask that was holding me back from being my true self, my authentic self, which you guys hear me talk about all the time. That is one of the best things. It's one of the best feelings that you can do. So we need to move past this silence. So one of my favorite prompts actually for journaling is, where am I holding back words I need to say? And that's my weekly prompt. If you're not signed up for my newsletter, that's where you'll see it. Where am I holding back words I need to say? It doesn't mean that you have to jump up and go say whatever's coming to mind to anybody and everybody. But sit down. If you don't like journaling, just grab a piece of paper, write it down, and then burn it so that nobody sees it. But I strongly suggest the journaling aspect because it can open up a world where you can review it, look at it, and then move on from it. You can let go. But as soon as you write it down, you start looking at the words that you need to get out. This week was big on the silence aspect of it, and that's why we're talking about it here in this video, So if you haven't checked out my blog post, I strongly suggest doing that. Take some time, do the journaling prompt, dig into it a little bit, and just recognize that the silence is no longer serving you any good, that you can build off of it by being stronger with releasing the emotions, releasing the pain, and start properly healing. Make sure to like, subscribe, and if you have questions, drop them down in the comments. Message me directly. I love talking to every single one of you, and I love digging into the things that you want help with. That's what I'm here for. Have a good day.